Whoops. Oh, fan-fucking-tastic. No, this is going to be stupid. This is going to work out real well. Okay, screw it. I think this will work. Hello. Long time no hear. Yeah, that worked out really well. Probably shouldn't chew gum. Try to do this at the same time. Anywho, what's up, Internet? I'm doing this to no one because this is so out of the blue that I'm sure everyone has given up on me. That's fine. It's not like it's something that I'm intending to do a lot. I'm just doing this for, I don't know. I'm bored. And you know me. I get bored and I just start streaming for no reason. I don't even know if anyone's still, no, not alive. Jeez. I don't know if anyone's actually still following this channel or if anyone who does this is even watching YouTube anymore. But, you know, that's kind of the way she goes sometimes. I probably shouldn't be chewing gum and doing this. It's going to screw up the speech to text deal. But yeah, so it's 2022. Amazing. I don't even remember the last time I streamed. A lot of things have happened since the last time I streamed. Let's see. We had COVID. That was fun. Oh yeah, we're still in the middle of COVID. Okay, yeah. So scratch that. That's not a thing in the past. But it's still here. We're still enjoying it. What else? Not much. I would have to say that my life has spiraled into oblivion. That's not true. Actually, things have stayed the same, exactly the same for me. Nothing has changed. I still work. I still do nothing. I gained a bunch of weight. There's that. Thanks to the pandemic and lockdowns and working from home. A lot of time to just sit around and do nothing and eat. That was great. Now I've got to bust my ass trying to lose weight again. Yeah. I don't really follow a whole lot, so there's not really anything to discuss. I don't even know why I'm doing this. The same story, different year. Always doing the same thing, just talking gibberish and nonsense, and that's that. I have seen that. I guess what's his name, Ethan Ralph, is on the decline. As far as like the old school drama crap, I see that he went to Portugal and got beat up. Now he's taking out his frustrations on anyone who will listen, which is always a hoot. It's literally the same story with all of these people, just different years, different times, but it all disintegrates into crap. They all end up becoming the lol cows that they were They started out as. They just, at one point in time, they had a following that, would see nothing that they did, and levy any sort of critique against them. So, but now that luxury has since passed. You spent that nickel, and people are not taking it anymore. So that's always fun. God, what else? I guess Joe Rogan is. Everyone's talking about him. That's fun. What do you got to? I guess it takes certain people to talk about certain subjects. Before the world takes notice and starts listening. Yeah, because there's been like tons of other people who've talked about the pandemic, but I guess it takes a Joe Rogan type to actually bring a doctor on, have a talk with him, and have the world freak out. I don't know why. I've seen a lot of things posted about the whole Joe Rogan thing, and people are like, well, why do people trust Rogan? Why do people trust Rogan more than they trust the news? And it just got me thinking, do people really trust Joe Rogan? Is that a thing? I mean, I've watched his podcast a couple of times, and I wouldn't say he's very trustworthy. I think he likes to have discussions. That's about it. I don't think he's like this arbiter of facts. He's no sort of authority on anything. But I guess some people, this is the world we live in, where there is the only conversation that there is to have or to be had is by authorities. And I have to think that this is like the influence of communists in our society, because it seems like the only way they know how to think. Like free expression is not something that they like. And they want everything to be sort of doled out by an authority. I don't know. I'm spitballing there. But I don't understand the obsession. I mean, I know the whole Spotify Neil Young thing. But I mean, fucking the most surprising thing about the Neil Young Spotify kerfuffle is that people didn't know who Neil Young was. I mean, that's surprising to me. Of course, I'm old, so of course I know who fucking Neil Young is. But just the idea that there are people who've never heard, Hey Hey My, or fucking Heart of Gold, or what's Southern Man, those old Neil Young classics. How the hell do you how do you live today and not have at least heard one of those songs once? I should know the answer to that. It's because nobody listens to the radio. The radio is as dead as, well, it's as dead as the radio, I guess. Video truly did kill the radio star. It only took 4 decades, but, radio's finally done with. Because now people listen to podcasts. I feel like everything is going to shit because we're spending too much time obsessing over stuff like podcasts. And I just don't see how that's any sort of benefit. Like, it's not entertainment. I guess it is to some people, but I don't see it as such. I see it as a distraction. To me, it's more or less, well, how to define it? It's something that people do to put on in the background, kind of like what they used to do with music. You just put it on in the background and just let it go. Sometimes you'll pay attention, sometimes you won't. But I don't know. Like with a podcast, there's a lot more involvement of paying attention to something, because it's usually like narrative based, or they're talking about something that you have to kind of follow. I just don't see that. I don't see that being something that like can stay. I don't know. That's me. I'm old. What do you want from me? Um, but yeah, radio's taking it up to Keister. Uh, so yeah, that's why you don't get people during this controversy knowing who Neil Young is. They're not forced to listen to his music. I mean, this is the iron. This to me is the ultimate irony of this controversy. You know, it's like Neil Young's pissed, and all these aging rockers are all fucking pissed because Joe Rogan is saying something they don't like, and there's a platform allowing them to say it. But no one's forcing anyone to listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, as opposed to these aging rockers who we were forced to listen to every time we turned on the radio. We didn't get a choice in the matter. If you listen to the radio, you were going to eventually hear one of these old fogey songs because you didn't get to pick the programming. You just accepted the programming for what it was. Now, granted, you got to choose your station, but Jesus, based on the format, you were getting the same songs no matter what. I mean, it's not like rock radio really deviated from channel to channel. So you'd end up with the same playlists, the same artists, the same songs. You were pretty much you were subjected to the whims of some program director as far as like what they would play, what they could afford to play. Because, I mean, let's face it, it's all licensing. And, what somewhat of your interests are. With Spotify, you can basically say, here's my interest. I'm interested in this specifically. And I'm only going to tune into this. And you get it. So it allows people to have more of a freedom of choice. But I guess to people who used to just use those terms as, lyrics and songs with no real meaning, I guess those were just pie in the sky ideals, But to Neil Young, he's fucking Canadian, so of course he doesn't understand freedom of speech. And not the New York Yankees. I don't know why it said that. Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? Like, I don't know. To me, it's just stupid from the get-go. That's why a lot of this stuff that goes on in the media, I just don't care about. I tend to not watch the news. That's why I don't do these things very often, because I just don't follow anything. And I know that's going off the screen. I don't care. It's too much of a personal investment, like an investment of my personal time, to get wrapped up in all this other nonsense. I know, like, what's going on now. The whole, the mask mandates coming to a close in America, at least. Popular support is waning on that. If you would have talked to me last year, I would have predicted what was going to happen this year, because it's a goddamn election year. The Democrats could push this stuff for as long as they could when it was convenient for them to do it. But now that their jobs are on the line, you're starting to see the shift. I mean, it was just going to happen. My take on it was like, how long do they ride this thing out, before they've done irreparable damage to the party? I don't know. I'm not a conservative, so that's a weird thing. It's like, I shouldn't say that. I have conservative ideals, but I'm not a Republican. But I'm not a Democrat either. I'm not a fucking libertarian either. God, I hate libertarians. I'm just, I'm your classic non-voter. Because what's the point? It's going to happen regardless. One vote never mattered, and that's why I've been arguing for a very long time that politics has taken over our entertainment, and due to that, we are suffering as a country. Fucking what is it? Podcasts play a big part in that too. People's obsession with fucking podcasts, and because to me it's like an audio only documentary, and people being obsessed with documentaries always turns out bad because documentaries are not real. They're fictitious. I know that sometimes they deal with like real things, but the presentation is not real. It's a very skewed and biased presentation of a real event, and it always is. And it causes people to have feelings about things they otherwise probably wouldn't even know or care about. And it's specifically designed to elicit those emotions from people. And that's why I don't find that to be an adequate replacement for music or movies as entertainment. But why are people turning to podcasts? Why are they going away from the traditional? I don't know. Is it because it's been around so long that people just don't know anymore? Or they don't care anymore about, music and television and movies? They want something new and unique, as though radio dramas are new. I mean, I don't that because I guess that's kind of the way I also look at it too. Like a podcast is sort of like a radio drama. Some of them are. And that's like going back to to the early 1900s, which I guess you could argue we're kind of doing anyway. I mean, I'm just bracing for impact with the whole depression. I can truly sense a depression on the horizon. I think most people can. So yeah, we could just be repeating the last century all over again. We're that terrible. Our fucking society is crumbling. So instead of just allowing it to disintegrate, we're going to just loop the last century over again. I don't know. I have a lot of predictions. I have a lot of goofy, predictions about different things. And the only joy I get in life is seeing whether or not they come true. I have this current prediction, and I have nothing to base it on. But my prediction is that the erection of all of these windmills in the plain states is causing global environmental changes by shifting the flow of the jet stream. Just by putting up that little bit of resistance in the air flow and the movement, that the jet stream may actually shift farther south. And if that happens, that's going to cause some real issues on our planet, especially our hemisphere of the planet. I mean, it would be just the greatest of irony that the people who are trying to fight against, global catastrophe and climate change are the ones who are having the greatest impact on destroying our planet. I would laugh for days and days. I would laugh for the rest of my life. That to me would be the ultimate comedy. But again, I have no basis for believing that. I just believe it. I haven't looked into it. The problem, here's one of the things that I've come to realize. If you're looking into something that isn't widely discussed or some sort of hot button issue, the idea of you getting actual, usable information on the topic is slim to none because no one else has looked into it. So, in a lot of cases, it's more or less just like a groundbreaking field of scientific exploration. No one's thought about it, so no one's done it. And I'm not saying that I'm some sort of groundbreaking, stumbled upon some groundbreaking achievement. What I'm saying is that this also plays into the whole COVID misinformation aspect, where people tend to believe that there are all these bad actors around the world who are spreading misinformation. But there are people who are confused because the information we have on it is sketchy at best because it's a new virus. And when you have something that's not well known and doesn't have a lot of data on it, the data is going to go every which way. And that's not going to do a lot to generate public support in your cause if you're saying that we're relying on data to guide policy, is all I'm saying. So instead of, making an effort to try to quell that, to come out the gate and say, listen, this is a new thing. We're watching it carefully, and we're going to do our best to try to, I don't know, protect people, but at the same time, not go overboard. I guess is the correct thing. But that didn't happen. Instead, we just defaulted to science as though it was some sort of new religion, and science being science changes, and everyone's like, wait a minute. I mean, it's sad when you think that after centuries of human development, we're still seeking oracles to give us some sort of prophetic vision of the future. I mean, it's terribly, terribly depressing. We don't need to know what's going to happen tomorrow to, I don't know. It's almost like saying like, we need this, so we're going to just, wait a minute, what the fuck just happened? Sorry. I just got a notification. The stream's current bitrate is higher than the recommended bitrate? Oh, fuck you. God. I can't change it midstream. Whatever. Well, I guess that's my point. Things could have been handled better, is essentially what I mean. But going into the whole, talking about my theories on jet streams changing due to the windmills and COVID and the implications, it still holds true that trying to find information on something that's not well researched is very difficult. Duh. That's like, obvious. I just, I would like to see if, I would like to think that it's not just horse shit. Maybe it is. But oh well. And I haven't really watched anything, followed anything. I haven't done anything. I've been playing video games. I'll tell you what I have done. In the past 2 years or whatever, however long it's been since I've last streamed, I've changed offices. That's one big one. And I started watching Game Grumps. I don't know why. I really, really don't. I think I would have to say it's because it just kept coming up in my recommended feed. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to give it a shot. And I don't know, something just clicked. There was something that one of them said, and I just found it to be funny. Well, actually, I should take that back, because that's not entirely how it went. I was getting recommendations for a guy named Dan Avidan. And I'm like, who in the hell is this? So I listened to one of the songs that came up, and it was like Super Guitar Brothers or something like that with Dan Avidan, and it was them doing "Kiss by a Rose," or "Kiss from a Rose," not "Kiss by a Rose." Jesus Christ! And I was just interested. I'm like, who is this guy who can't sing? I mean, honestly, that was like my first impression. I mean, not to belittle the guy, but he does not have a, what I would consider a good singing voice. I don't know if anyone understands what I'm talking about. It's sort of like one of those things where someone can be trained how to sing, and they can take, classes, and they can work on it, and they can, carry a tune and hit a certain pitch or whatever, and know those things. Breathing exercises, the classical way you train yourself to be a vocalist. But there's just something about like the timbre of a voice that's critical to being a singer. Like you just have to have it, and if you don't, you don't. And he doesn't. So I was just amazed that this guy was like, why is this fucking dude so popular? Who is this Dan Avidan? And that's when I found out that he is half of Game Grumps. And then I came to the other side of that from watching this dude. I can't even remember his name. Who played, what do you call it? Guitar Hero, or one of those types of games where he was doing meme songs that his fans would send him. And one of them just had this like Yoda impression, Yoda telling a joke. And I found out that was Game Grumps. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to check this out. And yeah, I've been watching Game Grumps since. I'm very, 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 very late to the late to the game on that one. Holy shit. But it's fun. I mean, it's all decent fun, I suppose. It's not for fucking kids, I can tell you that much. But hell, even now, that's got to be like, it's like one of those things where it's like, even kids today, the shit that, like, the people who are obsessing over this Joe Rogan shit, besides, people my age, like, they don't even know who the fucking Game Grumps are. That's how long they've been around. I'm involved in this movie project, right? That I kind of put myself in. And I was talking to the director of it. And I was bringing up stuff that I thought was relevant. But I wasn't aware of how young she was before I started talking. So I'm talking about Channel Awesome shit. Because that's what the movie reminded me of. And I told her, I was like, well, this kind of reminds me of this movie called Suburban Nights. And she's like, yeah, I don't know what that is. Let me be very clear. She is involved in making a movie that is basically a sword and sorcery tale with all of her friends, who all seem to be video game enthusiastic, role-playing cosplayer types. And she doesn't know Channel Awesome, the Nostalgia Critic, or that guy with the glasses, or anything like that. And I'm like, how? And then I realize it. She's only 24 years old. I think when Suburban Nights came out, she was probably in grade school. And I'm really starting to feel my age, because that to me is shit that's like, that's internet shit. That's like, I'm old getting into that. I'm like, it's just crazy. I mean, it's not like I was talking about, man, I remember seeing, Empire Strikes Back in the theater. Whoa. It's like, yeah, then now I'm suddenly an old man. But talking about stuff like Birdemic is not old. I refuse to believe that's old. But it is. You talk about like shit like The Room, and people can easily not know what you're talking about because it's that old by now. What's come out since then? I just don't know. I can tell you what has come out recently that I've been really interested in. It's something called The Backrooms, and it's not new. Well, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't say that it's not new because I guess this take on it is new. But the Backrooms thing has been going on for years. But it's Kane Pixels is the name of the channel on YouTube, and the guy, I say guy, but he's a fucking 16-year-old kid, made this whole found footage video in Blender. And it's like VHS filter kind of thing, and it looks very convincing. It looks very, very, very convincing. I'm shocked. I'm more shocked by his age, really. Because when I saw this, I'm like, that's pretty good work. That's pretty convincing compositing there. I guess at the time I was under the impression that it was some sort of visual trickery, that it was like some sort of compositing work done with an actual room. But it turns out it is just a modeled environment in Blender. And that was like, oh, well, that kind of diminished it for me. But it's still done really well. But then when I found out that the kid's 16, I'm like, Jesus Christ. What have I been doing with my life? But anywho, I would highly recommend anyone checking that out. Kane Pixels. Awesome. But the saddest part about that is the video that he uploaded. It's called Backrooms, Found Footage, something like that. It's like up to 14 million views or some shit like that. And then there's this other guy who's been doing photorealistic Blender videos for years. Yeah, I think he actually works in the industry. And his work is impeccable. It is top tier. And he gets like a couple 100,000 views. It's criminal to me because the work that this guy does in Blender totally tops anything else I've seen. But that's kind of the way it works. And I guess the only reason this Backrooms thing has gotten the traction it has is because of the subject matter. I was watching a video and I was about to leave a War and Peace length comment on one of the videos explaining the science of video. And then I deleted it because I realized nobody wants to hear an old man talk about video and the science behind it. Nobody wants to hear about CRTs and how great they were. And I think a lot of that, to segue back to why I don't stream anymore, is because of exactly that. Nobody wants to hear about this shit. It means absolutely nothing to anyone. I don't even know what people want to talk about. To me, it's just... It used to be so easy, I guess you could say. Back in the Kumite days or the Bloodsport days. It was just so easy. Because it was more or less just people getting together to... I don't even know. I don't even know what the hell we were doing. I guess that was the substitute for a real life. And I have no idea what any of those guys are doing anymore. I so left that behind years ago. I kind of assumed, I almost figured that they would try to redo it or bring it back, some sort of like weird nostalgia trip or something. I don't know. because everybody says they hate each other, and at the time, but then they also find a way to work it out and get back together. I don't know. The last thing I did was I remember doing with anyone involved in that was I went to Vamp stream on Twitch. She was streaming Subnautica, and I had to watch that. I had to watch the first episode of that, just because I had literally got done playing Subnautica like probably a month before she played it. So I was like very interested in seeing other people's takes on that game. But that was about it. All the smaller streamers, I don't even know if they're still doing it anymore. Um, I don't even know if YouTube as a platform allows half the stuff that used to get discussed back in the day. I don't know what their policies are like anymore. I know that I know right around the time that Medicare was ejected from the platform, pretty much everyone else was kicked along with him, and God only knows what happened to him. I don't even. The only reason I know about the Ethan Ralph stuff is because of somehow it just pops up on my feed. Like maybe it's the only thing I could think of is I started watching Nick Rekieta during the Rittenhouse trial. And then I kept watching his streams during the Kim Potter trial. And that's the only thing I could think of that would be the reason why I started seeing things about Ethan Ralph popping up on my stream. Because I've never in my life watched a single episode of the Kill Stream. Not even when it was on YouTube. I never even watched the Kumite when they were full on blood sports. Like I popped in probably once and then I would leave because I just couldn't. It was just not what I was interested in, and everybody knows that. But I can't believe Ethan Ralph is still doing this shit. And now, due to the fact that I clicked on one of those fucking videos, I keep getting videos. So I keep getting updates on the motherfucker. And then, out of the blue, who fucking comes up? It's like a blast from the past. Fucking Mundane Matt. Mundane Matt, of all fucking people, has to come out of the fucking shadows to talk about Ethan Ralph. And I thought, man, if Mundane Matt is coming back, everybody's going to be coming back. But I don't know. I never go really all that deep. I know I've seen Warski pop up from time to time. Man, you want to talk about a tragedy. Oh, that's the only thing I can do is laugh about that because here's a guy who's like just used to brag about how he was on top of the world, blah blah blah, and now he's like, I think one of the last few times I saw him, heard anything about him or saw anything about him, he was like hanging out with some other smaller streamer, like at the fucking dude's house. I'm like, is he still doing that fucking live streaming thing or something? Or live streaming? You know, the thing that almost got his ass fucking locked up several years ago. Is he still doing that? But I don't know. Then, he's chimed in on the Ethan Ralph stuff too. But man, he is just... I mean, when you look at somebody from... This is why I say that I look at the Andy Warski thing worse. than the Ethan Ralph situation, because to me, Ethan Ralph has always been a trailer park uh, inhabitant. Like, he's never left the trailer park. Whereas I feel like Andy Worski was never in a trailer park, and he put himself in one to be like all the other trailer park people, which is, you know, pretty much his MO. But to me, it's just surprising that, like, this is where he is. I don't know why it's surprising, but and it's also like I get these little blasts from the past every once in a while, like on the Ricada stream. Out would, you know, all of a sudden in chat, fucking Aiden Paladin would show up, or someone of that ilk. The old God, what was her name? Susan something. All the old I'm an intellectual types that you'd always see on the old streams, the old, you know, the old 2016 YouTube days. All of those people. No, Karen was her name. Karen was her name. That's right, not Susan. Karen something. But those people would just appear and then like, oh, I know this about that. Like, oh, great. Well, hello. Good for you. Like, what do you want me to do about it? I don't know. Can't remember her name. But seeing those people pop back up in Ricada's stream, like when he was pulling serious numbers during the Rittenhouse trial, it's like it just, to me, it's just an example of how shallow this whole platform is and the people involved, and how they're just chasing clout, not clouds. I mean, the same people who were clout chasers 6 years ago are still clout chasers today. Isn't that sad? I mean, what do you do with your fucking life? I don't know. That's why I never wanted to be part of it. But ultimately, that's why I stopped streaming altogether, because it's like, if I don't want to be part of that, then what the fuck am I even doing? And people would say all the time, no, but that's what makes you so unique. Like, no, you're wrong. I'm just like you. You could do this. Anyone can do this. So do it. You don't need to listen to me because I reflect your sensibilities. Do it yourself. Because what ends up happening is, like, when you start following someone online, or you start watching someone's streams that you feel speaks your language, so to speak, but all they're doing is basically nothing. Like doing the same shit you can do. You're setting yourself up for disappointment, because eventually they're going to prove that they are not like you. And then that's going to alter your perspective in such a way where now you can't enjoy them anymore. It's, oh, I thought you were like me, but no, you're not. But that's what's going to happen in life. That's all life is figuring out that no one else is like you. You are you. And if you want to hear you, then go out and make a channel, start streaming, and do you. Because that's the only person who's going to reflect you. I don't know. I guess it is nice to occasionally hear someone else out in the ether who has the same sort of, you know, the same belief structure, so to speak, or follows the same ideology. It makes you feel less alone in the world. But what's wrong with feeling alone in the world? If to me, it's more of a coming to the understanding that you are just kind of alone, and that you are your own individual, and no one else can be a compliment to you in that regard. To me, that's just, it's freeing in a way, because it sort of removes the boundaries of expectations, or broken expectation, I should say. So I can go about my days not having to concern myself with other people's opinions matching mine. I just assume that they don't. But I also live a fucking stupid life where I just defer to other people. Not because I'm afraid to have words. It's because I just don't care enough to get involved in stupid arguments. I mean, how does one even go about arguing their opinion? My opinion is right, and your opinion is wrong. And here is what? The data that's going to prove it? What data? I mean, you basically find whatever you can to back up your claim. And they do the same. You're not going to change anyone's mind on anything. It's just an exercise in fucking futility. It's learning how to get along with people in this world where we all think differently. That's the key. You know, just to be able to say, I don't agree with what this person's saying, but what they're saying doesn't affect me and it doesn't bother me. Because it doesn't have to. Like, they can think whatever they want. I don't care. Someone can literally think that this country, it would be better served as a monarchy, that we should be under like rule of the crown. I'll be like, cool, whatever. So, did you like the latest episode of the, Book of Boba Fett? I mean, what does someone's opinion on, ultimately, what does someone's opinion on a government, the operation of a government, really have to do with their day-to-day goings on? And how I can even like relate to them or be, I mean, it would have to be something so egregious. Like, I believe one certain race should be wiped from the face of the planet. That's different. But even in the sense of like, if someone holds those feelings deep inside them, I don't care. As long as they're, it's not like whatever they're talking about, every single topic you bring up, it's like, oh, and by the way, this race should die. Like, if they're always trying to shoehorn it in. That's not something I'm interested in indulging. But I'd say the same about, everyone and everything. But since we've taken the whole concept of conversation and communication and changed it from one-on-one like interactions with people to the stuff like this, streaming a person's thoughts out into the ether, or doing fucking podcasts, or leaving comments on a fucking thread on some forum, or on a video, or making a video that addresses something that you're outraged by or whatever. It's like, yeah, the worst is always going to come out because that's the stuff that people pay the most attention to. Like, even you find the world's worst Twitter person. I don't know if that makes any. I mean, anyone on Twitter would probably know that. Twitter people are Twitter people. You find the worst one. They're only that way on Twitter. Maybe there's a 60% like carry over into real life depending on where they live. I mean, especially if they live closer to the coast. But oftentimes, they're not that belligerent in real life. They're not that, in your face about confronting your ideologies with theirs. That's just what they do on Twitter. And that's why I left Twitter 2 years ago. Because it's stupid. Why have the same arguments over and over? What I just don't get it. All you're doing is basically fueling someone's self-obsession when you respond to their negativity. I think this politician is criminal and should be locked away. Oh, retweet, 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 retweet. Comment, 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 comment. Like. They're doing it for themselves. And even if you say, no, this person's wrong, and I'm going to be the one to make them aware of it. No, you're not. You're just fueling their narcissism by even acknowledging that something was said. And I guess that to me is like, how else do you view it other than like, it's just a clear indication of where someone, I don't know. I don't want to say that. Fuck it, I'm going to say it anyway. It's a clear indication where somebody stands on the intellectual spectrum. When you cannot contain yourself enough, somebody can rattle your cage and rile you up enough to where you're like, I am going to prove you wrong. Even in spite of the fact that it cannot possibly be done. I don't know. Same old shit, And I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about this. I start up a stream and I start doing the same old shit. Same broken record every time. And even me calling myself out for doing it is now a broken record. It's lunacy, if you really think about it. At one point in time, I was used to pretend that if I just did like what everyone else did, I would be successful. That, oh yeah, it was me standing in the way of my own success. It was all my fault. No. No one wanted to listen to me. No one wanted to engage in anything I have to bring to the table. Because I wasn't bringing anything to the table. I mean, truth be told, what, my life story or my thoughts or, oh, I had this crazy idea about this. Who gives a shit? Who am I? Nobody. So I don't know why I had this, I don't know why I had this impression that I was always like, I could have been something if only I would have allowed myself to have it. It's not true. It is a fucking delusion. I just so happen to meet someone who tied me into this bigger thing that I wasn't prepared for, that nobody was really prepared for. That's it. That's where my story begins and ends as far as most people on YouTube are concerned. I've had several different channels. I did my own fucking thing, Jerkcast, for a long time. Nobody gave a fuck about Jerkcast. That's how I met George, and that's how all that sort of came to be for me. And you take all that away, then I'm once again a nobody, which is what I kind of always wanted to be anyway. And it was just during that period where I felt like I could have done more, that was the delusion. Because I had been doing things up to that point. I mean, it's not for a lack of trying that things didn't work out. I tried. I tried a lot of different ideas, and they all equaled out to about the same non-existence online. I mean, I might as well have just done nothing for as many views as some of these videos got. People wonder how you can do a YouTube channel and how you can put stuff out and get 0 views. Well, there's only 2 people I know of who can answer that question. Me and Josh Peatfish. We are both in the same boat. But things for even that dude would have been different had he got tied into a bigger network of people like himself. And it's just a shame. It's a shame it didn't, but again, that was one of those things where it was like it was on the back of me, and I wasn't going to sustain it. It wasn't my weight to carry. And I think the only reason I really stopped streaming was due to the fact that I don't know. I guess you just take certain things for granted. Like I miss Victor Rand. He was like the only he was like the only one who really kept following me beyond the streams. Every time I'd post a video to my YouTube channel, he would comment on it or like it. I wasn't annoyed by it. It was just like, hey, there's Victor again. I wonder what he's doing. But, not enough to fire up a stream. And then I forget many, many other names. I'm trying to remember it's sad because I remember certain aspects of things like Airwolf by Night. But by God, I cannot remember the person who did that, the name of the person. And I even fucking did a stream with him. I mean, this is how psychotic that is. Like he was doing Cringe Factory with me there toward the end, and I cannot remember his name. I hadn't thought about it in so long. And Bronner, I don't even remember. I know she dipped a long time ago, and I haven't seen her in ages. That was those 3. Well, there was also Jesus Christ, what were their names? I am terrible with names. This doesn't look good for me. When you do streams with people for, many, many months, and you can't even remember their goddamn names. Bubonic. Yeah, that was his name. Bubonic and his cast of miscreants. It was little. It was very little in it was just a little corner of the world, Tiny little thing. But I reflect on it fondly. Apparently not fondly enough to actually keep those streams around. But, that's me. I don't know. I always said that if I ever came, I should just call my stream I don't know, because that's what I say about fucking 70% of the time I speak. Also, if anyone, I can tell you right now, my chat window doesn't work. If anyone's actually watching this and has tried to chat, it I don't see anything. So if I'm not responding to you, it's because I'm not seeing anything on my end. Just so you know. Not saying that anyone's tried to chat. But just to give an explanation, nothing has popped up. And I'm going to be going here soon anyway, because I have to go to lunch and drive in the ice and snow. Oh, I did get a Jeep Wrangler. I'm just thinking of things that have happened in the past, like how many ever fucking years, 2 years, whatever, since I streamed last. I got a Jeep Wrangler and a little kind of compact little teardrop type camper to go along with it. Took it out like 2 or 3 times last year because I didn't get it until toward the end of the year. Thanks, COVID. I bought it in like March, but didn't get it until July or August. And then took it out as much as I could before the weather turned really shitty. And now I'm just waiting for the weather to stop being shitty so I can take it out again. But yeah, that's about it. My dog died, or Sky died. That was about the other thing. I don't know if she died before I stopped streaming or not, but she died of cancer. And we got a new dog, Jessie, an Australian Shepherd. She's a wonderful dog. And still married, still working the same job. Speaking of which, that is my cue. So, hope you enjoyed it. For what it's worth. Nobody's at work today. That's why I'm doing this. I'll tell you now, I got rid of everything I used to use to stream. So, doing streams from home probably not realistically happening. But anyway, it was something. Later.